Okay, welcome back once again to the Contrarians. We've been doing this Build a Bad album series. We've done, I think we had five or something, but at this point now, Tim and I have gotten together and done an Aerosmith in the '70s one, and we've done an Aerosmith in the '80s one. So we thought, let's just finish the whole thing off. And this is essentially, the '90s, beginning with Get a Grip all the way to the end, sort of thing. This was a little easier to pick songs for this that's for sure. But yeah, the concept here is that we're just poking a little bit of fun at one of our favorite bands and picking some songs that we definitely don't like by them and coming up with an old school vinyl album, 5 tracks on side one, 5 tracks on side two. I think we're going to have Marco call this one. And when he does his cool little album cover art, I think we're going to call this one Just Push Stop. What do you think? Pretty good?
That's a nice simple one.
Yeah, exactly. And we also had music from Another Corporation, Honkin' on Oh No, and Get a Grift. There you go.
Yeah. I also music from An Awful Dimension. I just thought
okay.
That might work too.
Yeah, that's
but
good
yeah,
too.
the nice simple one, Just Push Stop, is that to me. I think we need to reference that album a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so the way this works, I'm going to have Tim start off here and give us 5 songs that he's going to put on this Just Push Stop album.
Thanks, Martin. Well, oddly enough, I didn't pick any from the only 2 albums they put out in the '90s, Get a Grip or Nine Lives. Not that I think those albums are perfect all the way through, but I just think that what they came up with afterward got worse. And the sad thing is that a lot of bands, the longer they're around, they get better. Like some of Whitesnake's latter period albums or some really, really strong stuff. Aerosmith got so corporate and such gaps in between their albums that there's too much anticipation. And then when they do come out, they just feel so manufactured. So yeah, this wasn't a hard one for me to do. First one, Martin and Marco did one of my favorite worst episodes of the Contrarians, arguing this album, Just Push Play, is the worst Aerosmith album. It's pretty horrible. Definitely wanted to pick at least 2 songs from it. I wanted to pick on it because I hate it so much. First one that I came up with is the Avant Garden, the closer, which is just, I just really hate this album. I mean, I think there are a couple of points on it that aren't that bad. The production is terrible. The production sucks. They made the Boneyard Boys, they made such a big deal about producing it themselves. It does not sound produced. If anything, it's disproduced. It just sounds like these disparate sounds thrown together in disparate parts of songs. Avant-garde is Steven trying to be, I think, psychedelic, and that never ever works when these old bands try that. The other one I want to pick is Fly Away From Here, which is a by the numbers ballad that they did not write. And someone may think, well, why didn't you pick I Don't Want to Miss a Thing? That was the big hit. Well, here's my theory. I have a few theories on that song. Number one, I hardly consider that an Aerosmith song. I don't think any of the band members played on it besides Steven Tyler. Other than branding purposes, they might as well have put that out under his own name. It probably would have done just as well instead of linking the Aerosmith name to such a paint by numbers song. That the fact that it's a Diane Warren song, there was a country version of it, I have no idea. That just shows how generic it is. But grudgingly, they went for it and it worked. Somehow that became their most highest charting song, which is sickening. Fly Away From Here is the first time they'd had an album out since that song, which wasn't on one of their albums, of course. They put it out and it flops. And there's something about the fact that they have this song none of the band members wrote. They throw it out. They had this really, really expensive video for it. I think they shot it at an airport and it flops. And somehow that even seems even more pathetic to me than the song that isn't that great, but yet became a hit for them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like, wow, like that, you bunch of losers. Why did you do this again? So yeah, I really have a hate on for that album. So we'll move on from there. Now, the next one is, this, like most classic bands, Aerosmith's catalog starts to get top heavy with compilations and live albums, and these compilations that have maybe 1 or 2 new songs on it. So in 2002, this stupid thing comes out with this annoying Some lenticular covers I like. This is not one of them.
Mhm.
I guess that's the actual cover, but and even the title of this is dumb. Oh yeah, Ultimate Aerosmith Hits. The one thing this had going for it is this is the first time it combined like the Sony and the Geffen years, so I guess there's something going on there. But the selling point to this was the fact that there were two new songs on here, and the two new songs were Girls of Summer and Lay It Down, both of which suck. Absolutely suck. They're terrible, terrible songs. Girls of Summer is an annoyingly poppy song. It does absolutely nothing for their legacy except taint it. Lay It Down's another boring ballad. Just lays flat, doesn't do anything. I think I bought that album for $4 used, which is the only reason it's in my collection. I actually didn't pick anything from Music from Another Dimension. Not that I think that's all great either. I do think it has its moments. There might be a passable 10-song album of the, I think in total 19 songs if you get all the editions of it. And Martin had mentioned off camera, yeah, the deluxe CD version of it is the most annoying packaging that I've ever seen on an album, and the discs fall out. And anyway, but I didn't pick anything off that. What I did go with is another thing I have in a special edition is this Honkin' on Bobo, their quote unquote blues album from 2004. Now, I'm going to pick on the one original song that's on this album, which is The Grind. This is a co-write. Without looking, I'm pretty sure this is Tyler Perry and Marty Fredrickson, who's ruined many a good band. This song starts out like a blues song. By the time you get to the chorus, it's another crappy, poppy ballad. And I don't like all the songs they do on this album, but I think, when they get into even something as overplayed as Baby Please Don't Go, at least it sounds like Aerosmith. And it sounds like Aerosmith back when they, I guess cared. I don't know how else to say it, but The Grind, they didn't even need to put this on here. I don't even think it was a single. So why did they throw this throwaway song on here other than, so they could say in the press, well, there is one original song on it. Yeah, it's just not very good. So really easy to pick songs from this part of their career. Unfortunately, I wish that they'd had this renaissance, but that creatively they just, I don't know if it's Steven Tyler and the American Idol thing, or they're just infighting, the constant infighting. And, since the 90s, what is there? 1, 2, 3, 5 albums. That's it. One of them is almost all covers. Not very prolific. They were never that prolific, but when they stretched that many albums out over the decades, and it's been going on 11 years since they've had another one, they probably won't do another one. I don't know. And if they do, it'll probably be more of the same, unfortunately. Now, keep in mind, we love this band. We love Aerosmith. So this is just us picking on their latter career. And those are my 5.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with all these as well. At Avant-Garde, you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned the psychedelic thing. It never works for any of these bands, but it really doesn't work for Aerosmith. Anytime they try that psychedelic thing, the psychedelic Beatles thing, like this has the sort of, you've heard Dokken do this, you've heard Warrant do this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these bands have tried this psychedelic Beatles thing.
Let's throw a sitar in here, or a sitar.
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of these as well have that when they do the crappy ballad thing, they go the country route. And it's always rankled me, the Aerosmith trying the new country thing. I've always hated that. Like soon as one of their ballad goes that way, it goes even further south for me, kind of thing. So Girls of Summer has that Norwegian Wood Beatles thing in it, right? And same with Avant-Garde. It's got the psychedelic thing as well. But yeah, okay. So my side too. I'm gonna start with. So I've mixed it up a little here because there was so much to choose from. I thought, well, let's not pick on one sort of version. But Gotta Love It from Get a Grip. Most of this album I'm actually not that much of a fan of, and yeah, it pains me. I feel exactly like you do, Tim. Where the two bands that just stick out like a sore thumb for me as just like annoying me to death with their later material is Aerosmith and Def Leppard, right? And Ozzy, actually. Ozzy, it's kind of the same thing. There's just very, very, there's this massive corporateness to the whole thing, right? But they make these long albums, and Gotta Love It is like, again, it's kind of like funky, but it's got a little hip hop thing to it. When they bring that to it, never really works. It's got a little bit of Led Zeppelin, but it's again got the psychedelic Beatles thing going on. Horrible sort of vocal melodies and just kind of noises making up the sound. When they produce these albums, I've complained about this, and in various ways, various things are annoying about the productions. But quite often, one of the annoying things is you never really hear hi hats. Quite often, like there's just no real normal drums. It's just like and just like weird clappy sounds and things making up the quote unquote rhythm.
That's the problem with just push play. That one of the problems with there's so much noise, there's so much sound effect. It's like, exactly, dial that back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, and then I went with from Nine Lives, which is exactly the kind of unsatisfying album that Get a Grip is. Get a Grip sold amazing. It's like 7 times platinum or something. And even this, I think, is double platinum.
Yeah.
So this did rather well as well. And it's pretty heavy and raw, and it seems like they're trying something. It just kind of doesn't work. But I went with Full Circle from this, which is like a 3/4 time waltz sort of, time signature ballad. And again, it's got the horrible kind of new country thing. Hey, this new country thing is big. Let's throw some of that in here, kind of thing. So that bothers me about that one. Then I went with Love Lies from Just Push Play, which is another ballad. And then Drop Dead Gorgeous from here as well, which again is it's kind of a mix of them trying to be funky and add that hip hop element as well. This one's sung by Joe Perry, so
I was going to say that's one of the Joe songs.
Yeah, we know the whole history of the Joe songs, and I love Joe to death, but I'm not crazy about when he sings, his style of singing, his voice. I think they should spend more time on getting a good vocal out of him. My favorite of all of his would be Bright Light Fright.
Oh, yeah.
From way back on Draw the Line. But, and I always, every time I think of Joe singing, I think of Keith Richards singing, and I love Keith singing to death. I mean, every song that Keith sings on Stones albums are usually near the top of my list of favorite Stones songs. I love his voice, and I love the way he sings. So yeah, Drop Dead Gorgeous from that. And then I went with What Could Have Been Love from Music from Another Dimension. And yeah, as I was telling Tim, I can never find my copy of that album because it comes in this larger packaging that doesn't fit on my CD rack. So it's somewhere in this office. And it's funny you brought out your Honkin' on Bobo. The only reason I can find that is I took it out of that cardboard thing and stuck it on my racks. Right?
Well, yeah, at least there's an actual CD inside of this. But that one, it's like you've got this big booklet that's too tall for any CD rack.
And I have that thing with a harmonica somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So yeah, those are mine. Just a horrible album. This Just Push Stop album. I don't know. What do you think of any of my 5 choices there?
No, really good. Nine Lives. It's funny. I've always preferred Nine Lives to Get a Grip, but I think that's because there was no one song on Nine Lives that got played to death. It didn't have really. There were no big hits off it. Which is really weird. They went through this period where for a while you didn't hear them on the radio, and then of course the next summer the Armageddon movie comes out and they got the big ballad.
Pink is a hit off this, and that's super annoying as well.
That was
Falling in Love is Hard on Your Knees is a well put together.
Oh yeah, I really like that song. Yeah. That's probably one of my, if you could call that a latter day Aerosmith song, that's definitely one of my favorite. When that came out, I was really excited. I was like, okay, this is good. First of all, they didn't come out with a ballad.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Get a Grip came out, I wouldn't call Living on the Edge a ballad, but it's slow.
Yeah.
It's got that slow lumbering tempo, like you said. But and Pink, it became a hit, I think, in a remixed form. And it was like almost a year after the album came out, kind of resuscitated. I think that's the reason that it went double platinum, because I think it went platinum right away, but just kind of flatlined because there were no big singles off it. Yeah. They put here's the thing, they put a ton of singles out, but none of them, very few of them actually stuck. I think in the last, since the 2000s, I think the only legitimate hit single they ever had was Jaded. That actually managed to become a top 10 single, which is rare of a band of that vintage. But I think that just speaks to the depths.
Another great one of these, dark horse stuck on a compilation songs is Deuces Are Wild. I thought that was a really good song too.
Yeah. That's Deuces Are Wild. I got to mention that's one of those funny ones that if you live here in Canada and you wonder why do I hear Deuces Are Wild on the radio so much? That's because it qualifies as Canadian content because it's Tyler Valance as music and lyrics, and it was produced in Vancouver by Bruce Fairburn. That qualifies it as Canadian content, as weird as that sounds.
As I play it in my head, I actually I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't like the verses, don't like the end of the chorus, but I love the pre-chorus, and that's what I think about. I love that pre-chorus part of that thing. But yeah, the rest of it I'm not crazy about.
And the other song that radio would do that with is The Other Side from Pump.
Great
for the
song. Wow, love that song.
For the exact same reason, although they ended up getting sued because that's the chorus of that sounded a little bit too much like Standing in the Shadows of Love. So now it's like Tyler Valance, Holland Dozier Holland. So I don't know if it qualifies as CanCon anymore because it's split too thin. There's not enough Canadian in it anymore. Yeah. So I don't know if that one counts anymore as a. But anyway, that's just radio talk. They so Nine Lives, did kind of hit and miss, but I don't think Just Push Play did that great either. I think it went its customary platinum. Honkin' on Bobo went gold. First time that they didn't, hit platinum, and I don't think Music from Another Dimension went anything.
No.
So it's an interesting, a band with so much talent within, but there's so much bickering and not enough writing within the band anymore. You don't get the cool, a couple of heavy Brad Whitford songs on an album anymore. Yeah. And the way they treat Joey Kramer like the redheaded stepchild, or like it's just not a likable bunch of guys, really. As far as it's funny you mentioned Joe singing. Yeah, Bright Light Fright's a good vocal from him with his style, and I think some of the songs on the first two Project albums are pretty good too. But yeah, Joe just kind of intones, so it's not the most exciting listen. So yeah, he needs to push more air when he sings.
That's right. He does sing on that first album, and that's what is that one called? There's a big, heavy, slow one. He does a great job.
The Mist is Rising. That's
that's not the one I was thinking about. There's another one in there. Yeah, what a great album though.
Soldier of Fortune, is that?
Yes. Yeah. I think
that's on the second one. But yeah, that's a good one. That's a good song.
It's not that one then. No, that is on the first one. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Conflict of Interest.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
He sounds good singing. Of course he was younger too. But once he started singing with it, started with like Walk On Down. He's just practically talking.
Yeah.
And hits a note here or there.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's our Just Push Stop album. And if you're loving this episode of Aerosmith, we got two other older ones that you can go check out as well. We got a trio on this concept of Build a Bad Album. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. You can join our Patreon situation. That gets you into our being on our panels or doing music trivia night. And Marco even does this thing, Ask Martin questions, that he sends me through. I answer questions that is Patreon exclusive as well. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go play some Aerosmith, but I think Tim and I would probably both agree that go back to the 70s stuff if you want to find the good stuff. So 80s as well, but stay away from this era, and we shall talk to you again next time. See you later.